As loud as it will go, welcome back, broadcasting around the world. All things arts, international digital art underground, everything. Big show note. My name's Adrian Pocobelli, Artist Journal, August 29th, 2025. It's the long version. Oh no, it is the short version. I guess it's been a few weeks here. So big show note. Maybe you heard I announced on Ebzer Deity's space there for the Carnival Dharmas. So I'm thinking once a week for blockchain art, and then going back to the original pre-video conception of this show, which is an artist journal. And, you know, the first 50 shows, it's like my unconscious could sort of tell what was going on when I kept saying this is not a news show. It became a small meme for the people, for like the 100 people that were watching. What I'm thinking, because I feel like I'm getting too enmeshed, frankly, in blockchain culture, so to speak. And I think that's been a distinguishing characteristic of this show, is it's not, you know, I've been calling it art on the blockchain. It seems to be catching. I'm sure it existed. Probably someone said it before. But nevertheless, it seems to be getting more popular. But I think part of the draw of this show from an art perspective is the fact that it's not, you know, art that is really, to be super blunt and even perhaps a touch unfair, you know, art beloved by cryptocurrency speculators, so-called crypto art, as I define it. Which also embodies, you know, if you're going to be more specific about it, we've had many discussions, asked, you know, notable people from the scene on what crypto art actually means. And oftentimes, crypto art can oftentimes embody the iconography, so to speak, of crypto. I've always wanted to distinguish myself from it. Part of the reason I started showing art on this show is because I felt like a lot of the art that I like the best wasn't even really discussed, mentioned, cared about, bought, you know, sold. So there was a real reason. And now, though, I would argue 440 episodes later of the videos, to a certain degree, I don't want to say it's a mission accomplished, but it's not like if I show a new Martin Bruce work that the people, and we will celebrate them and continue to weekly. It's not like it's going to be some revelation, though, to the people that already watch this show. It may be a revelation to newcomers, but the newcomers can always go back to the older shows to find out who these artists are, and many people do. You know, Denirus there on show, 30, leaving comments, leaving notes. I love it. It's quite interesting for me. I started watching one of those episodes. I had to stop after 20 seconds. I thought, wow, from just a purely broadcasting perspective, it's amazing. It's all about the reps, as they say. As I like to say, you can't fake your way to broadcasting. You literally have to go through that, 50 episodes. It's like they call it the century of humiliation in China. It's like the 50 episodes of humiliation, so to speak, to start getting somewhere in broadcasting. And thank you. It's great that actually people can watch and enjoy those shows, which is wonderful for me. Of course, we're all our own worst critic in many ways. So all to say, so what is the plan? I'm still going to keep my schedule, and also so just actually to keep things kind of big picture. And so part of it, though, is a semi-mission accomplished on, hey, there's something else going on over here. And there is, and it has very much become, there is kind of a recognition that if I disappeared, a lot of the momentum, which already existed before me, but I did help collect and kind of aggregate here and celebrate and then hammer home over 440 episodes. That if, let's say, the show, that culture would continue somewhat, probably in large degree, and evolve, and everything would happen. Again, a lot of this, like we're going to look at the artist here, this brilliant visionary curator and artist, Curio Fringe, that all existed pre-me. I wasn't even on hand, right? But from a personal point of view, from my own vantage point, I can go, okay, all of this art, like, that's why I was so happy to start, frankly, with Curio Fringe. It's like, that embodies this show. I would argue, one of the most important artists in the entire art on the blockchain scene, crypto art included. And, I saw a bunch of one-of-ones selling for $200. Outrageously, and by the way, I was very fortunate enough to be sent one of these, full transparency, from Curio Fringe. From picking up some of Curio Fringe's work, I actually just bought a beautiful masterpiece from Curio Fringe the other day. Happily. So there is that side of things where once a week is plenty. We don't need to hammer it home. And I think it might actually lead to a better show. A more concentrated show, it's almost like the highlights of the week from art on the blockchain, right? So there's that. There's also the issue that I've had for 3 years now. It's been 3 years. Has it been 3 years? 2022. Early August 2022. We are in late August 2025. There is also the issue, once again, from my personal vantage point, is I'm not able to make as much art as I used to be the last 3 years because I actually had an audience from this show, which was wonderful, but I didn't have the time because even this morning it all came back. I was like, here I am 3 hours later, and it's like, okay, the show is ready. The show is ready to record for an hour, and then so I can upload it for an hour here in Berlin with my crappy internet. So all that being done, that's significant, and I work in the morning. Oftentimes with my art, not exclusively, but oftentimes. So the way I'm thinking about this is, okay, one day a week, you've invested all this time in this blockchain art scene, and as you're going to see here, there is still a lot to be excited about. It's not like it goes to sleep and, this isn't just a hype machine. There is a lot to be genuinely excited about. Which also, as I take a break, and as I always do, you kind of reassess, is this of significance? Which is what it all comes down to at the end of the day for me personally, is significance as an artist. It is all about significance. What are you doing, when you are making an image? You are creating meanings. So now getting back to, Monday, Wednesday, I will still do shows, but it's going to be in the original spirit. Again, this kind of caught on early on where all of a sudden 30 people were watching, and that was a really big deal to me. And so I was like, well, okay, let's keep showing art. People love this. I'm enjoying it, and it's great. But then it kind of became, the shows got longer and everything. So all to say, I want to go back to the roots where I'm also learning again. And it was kind of the show that I was, teasing to myself and to others of this Adventures of Ideas show. Really, that's just the Artist Journal show that I'll do on the Monday and the Wednesday, where it's going to take not very much prep. It's like, okay, let's learn about Alfred Jarry's life today. Let's learn about what are the definitions of pataphysics. What is, as I was saying on Absurdeity's space, Jasper John's early prints, or what are the different kinds, and then go super specific and then just tackle something. It'll take 15 minutes to prepare, one imagines. Maybe the videos will be shorter. I don't know. But that is sort of the plan. And I'm hoping that'll have a multi-pronged, I feel like it's an evolution, frankly, of the show. In the sense that it'll be educational for people who are in the blockchain art scene, because a lot of artists, let's just face it, are here from the crypto scene, as we see from a lot of Turkey and Argentina. It's people who are already kind of versed in cryptos, or blockchain technology, crypto, whatever you want to call it, cryptocurrency, and so could easily migrate over and say, hey, let's make some art. People are buying NFTs. And so and a lot of those people watch this show. And so I'm hoping there's going to be an educational mission, so to speak, that hopefully will perhaps even ideally, who knows, feed back into the art. As well, I'll be learning, which is a huge draw for me, where all of a sudden I can go, what am I interested in today? Maybe it's how many paintings Leonardo did. Let's just look at Leonardo's, how many paintings did he do? What can we gather from looking at the 17 or 20 paintings? And then why were there only 20? And then do a little investigation. Be more specific, all to say, because it's almost like my unconscious was kind of telling me throughout the last 400 shows, as I'd sometimes go into history, I'd be like, oh, it'd be nice to really look at that closer, wouldn't it? Well, that's what I want to do. And I'm hoping the third or another aspect of this is I have a feeling if all of a sudden I'm doing a show on, say, William Burroughs' cut-up method and actually looking at it and how it's actually, created and done, and what are the different variations? Did it change? What about the third mind? How much did Brian Geisen actually have involved in all of this? How important is this? Did David Bowie use it? I think he did. I think Ballard may have done his own variation, interestingly. So what I'm hoping as well, which could be a benefit, and again, more of an evolution of the show, finally, then we have a whole bunch of art to get through. Pray for my internet. Is people will find this show by putting in Burroughs' cut-up method and then going, oh, here's some guy, or Jasper John's early prints, fairly niche things. We can look at one painting. We can do whatever we want. Alfred Jarry's biography, life. He lived on the 3.5 floor in Paris. How fascinating. True story. I'm hoping that all of a sudden people go, oh, I like this guy talking about William Burroughs' cut-up method. Perhaps, and then, oh, there's this Friday show on new art on the blockchain. So perhaps in that way, exposing the work to a larger crowd beyond what increasingly to me personally feels like a provincial scene. And I'm not trying to, but just, it's too small. It's too small. And so, and I don't want to go too strong on that. And I love it, and that's why I'm going to do weekly shows on it. But I need to bring in other perspective, at least I need other information. I need to keep myself stimulated, right? And so that's what I'm thinking. And I think it'll be an evolution of, and I think it'll be healthy and good for everyone. Actually, hopefully. And final point on this, and then let's look at this brilliant work of art by Curio Fringe. The final part on it is, what was the final part? The final part is, well, who knows? I can't remember. I remember. I love it when I remember. This is, I'm going to try this out. Let's see. Maybe I decide, you know what? Maybe I just want to show 20 works Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I go back to that. So again, I am the CEO here of this channel, so I can really do whatever I want. And in that respect, final thing, I would encourage people to always start your own thing. If you're working in an office job, even if you're working on it 2 hours a week, always have your own thing. Because it really is, there's nothing like running your own shop. And I just can't emphasize that enough, especially as people, as I'm just around me, I see increased unemployment and people who just can't get jobs. I just tell everybody, just start something. Just start your own thing. Stop, apply for jobs, great, but build your own thing. That's what you're going to need to do anyway. So let's begin. Curio Fringe. The real headline here is Curio Fringe back. I think the last mint, and we can look, and it's perfect actually. The last mint, I think, was December 2022. It's almost like a caterpillar, ready to turn into a butterfly here. See how it's moving? Look how beautiful that is. Almost looks like an Excel spreadsheet. Gorgeous. Metamorphosizing almost into what looks like almost a flying thing. Of course, that is my very subjective interpretation. Look at these gorgeous colors here. So, Curio Fringe, the real headline here, back on the scene. Back on the scene. Sound video by Curio Fringe, August 2025. Again, a brilliant curator. I have to say, like, it's tempting to call visionary. Quite an important curator in this scene. And you see, what I was going to say was the movements of all of a sudden it starts moving around. Very typical of Curio Fringe. So what's also exciting about the new format, which I'm super excited about, which gets us back to the earlier episodes, the earliest, actually, where I just pick an artist. That's something else I can do on the Monday and Wednesday, where I decide to go, okay, let's look at Curio Fringe's work. So, in a sense, like, to me, I'm very excited about this kind of evolution in the show. And I think it's going to be a lot less work, because if I want to look at Curio Fringe's work, so in other words, I can do my art again, which is important to me. It's kind of ridiculous that the artist journal of an artist subsumes the art, right? So all to say, exciting. First ever object.com mint. Of course, a legend of the Hiket Nunk scene wanted to show my appreciation to the biggest collectors of my work during a prolonged meditative period. Thus, this one is a gift. Thank you. So thank you, sir. And I would have started with this regardless. That is a headline. Curio Fringe back on the scene. Let's hope it sticks. Let's hope more is to come. So very exciting. So I've been busy. So lots of trading cards here. It's a wonderful canvas, so to speak, for me to do my experiments. And what's so fun, something I've learned this summer, which is to do one thing at a time, so to speak, at least in your free time. When you're working on projects, do one thing at a time. I was working on some other project unrelated to this scene for most of the summer, 2 months. And I put out some of my best work, not art related, not exactly, but I did some of my best work that I think I've ever done. And why? Because I chose one thing. I chose one thing, and then why is that good? Well, first of all, you're working on one thing rather than 10 things, and in the middle of the night, your brain starts being creative within that one thing, rather than if you're working on 5 things, you're stressing on the list and all the things you need to do in order to accomplish these abstract goals. Whereas when you work on one thing, then you can start to get into the details and start to go, oh, actually in the subtleties, and start to really go somewhere very far. And we're kind of back to significance, because the further you can go, arguably the more significant it is. Or at least it has the potential to be more significant. So one would argue, speaking abstractly, so all to say thank you very much to the collectors here. I think I put out 12 works here. And there's actually, I'm sitting on a bunch too, which is exciting over here. Exciting stuff. So thank you, everybody. Here are some of the works. I was actually super proud of the colors on this work. So thank you for collecting Zephyra for 150 Tezos. And also here, thank you to the collectors of, I was very excited about this work too. Not the first color I'd choose, lime green, but I'm actually quite thrilled with how it all turned out. So Texting and Driving Survivor sadly fails to learn her lesson. Also Zeph, thank you Zeph for collecting here. This is part of the Carnival Dharmas and AI artwork, taking previous works that I had made in the Screen Memory series and then adjusting and editing, AI with edits, as I like to say. Again, I think Avengers number 57, as I told Ebzer Deity. We can look at those monochromatic Marvel covers now, and look at the great covers of Marvel Comics, the work of Jack Kirby in future episodes. Very excited about where this is all going to go. I was very happy with this. This one came together very quickly. I was having a conversation with someone in a cafe who was trying to tell me how they need to work harder and then just want to get me out of the cafe to socialize. Well, anyways, all to say, really, Wade Boggs, Dennis Eckersley. So all to say, thank you, everybody. You're in Yacon. Thank you for picking up this one of one. Really thrilled with how these are turning out. And yeah, very thrilled about this. And thank you, Dr. Version, for commissioning a work. I gave him 2, which was fun. Tornado Rodriguez, also, thank you, everybody. So thank you to all the collectors there. And thank you to all the collectors who... We sold out on walls. That was incredible. Absolutely incredible. So that's exciting. That is exciting. So Tornado Rodriguez out of Argentina sells out. Again, you can't think of someone who, in a sense, deserved it more. And I have to say, as someone who was working with Tornado, and I will happily work with her again, because she was incredibly organized. And what does that mean? She was professional. She was professional. So all to say, congrats to Tornado, congrats to the collectors, and I'm just so thrilled about how that went. That was a real kind of heartwarming moment, wasn't it? Also, Pixel Art Anthology, so thank you, Kyle, for having me on the program on the space with Kyle's super cool book, which I should get in the mail hopefully in September here before I move out of here. Before I go nomad, probably ending up in Paris. First, I start with a month in Paris, but anyways, yeah, so excited about Kyle's book, and so you can listen to the space here, and someone else who just worked hard, shall we say. Also, this is coming up, John Bezold, an interview premiering 1st of September, so that sounds like Monday, if I'm not mistaken. So super excited to be on John Bezold's podcast here. Dutch art and design. Super happy. Had me talking about digital art and even had this Raphael work from the Screen Memories series. So awesome. Thank you, John. Looking forward to that. And this is great. Thank you also finally to how am I escaping the great heck. Thank you. Josh Sobel. So thank you for I thought this was a great comment here. Of course I would. The Pocobelli School of Artists, Santiago, Waffles, Martin Bruce, Siri J, Sabato, Myth, RJ, Mirkid, Ed Marola, Nov 1914, No Hygiene, Salawaki will go down in history. It's impressive to watch the art unfold from the front seat of the internet. Another reason, because I could have just said, you know what, I'll just do my thing 3 days a week where I just go, oh, whatever. But it's hard to let go. There is still an excitement, as you're going to see, in this show for art on the blockchain. So all to say, thank you, Josh Sobel, for the wonderful comment. And thank you, finally, Myth, who, of course, I follow. The great Myth out of Buenos Aires. Thank you for the Artist Journal. I love it. I need a jacket like this for the honorary Myth Fit. And, of course, Myth, go support Myth. Mythfits alert. So this launches today, after a couple of little delays. So go support the Myth here. Love the yellow. Myth is a genius with color, among other things. A great poet, but a genius with color. Look at this yellow. Oh, this outrageous yellow. Would you do that? So wonderful. Just a few comments here. Talking about de Kooning. And let's look here. Illusion T Soul, my best example when I began to explore my own style is to talk to artists that do inspire me and create a dialogue with them on aspects of how they create. Process is incredibly important, as in fact different than taking another person's style just because it's possible. One of the issues that an artist who doesn't evolve through process goes through is never having traceable authenticity. That's an interesting point and question. Is for, what's ironic to me? I've seen so much copying in the last month. I feel like it's gotten worse just in general so I don't know what to make of that, and so it just is what it is. So I leave my commentary out there in those last few shows on the thoughts on it. Let's continue. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. Radayonki, Matt Fury is Pepe's creator. How can I not know this? I think he actually gave a speech when I first moved to Berlin. I missed it, unfortunately, but someone was telling me, like, hey, you should someone told me about it later. Let's put it that way. So great guy and comic artist. Interesting. So a bit of a controversial figure. Some people feel otherwise. To Rada giving a vote of confidence. So, and I trust Rada. So I'll just say, great to hear from you, Rada. Dems, also known as Bulls. The 91 Woods. Great show as usual. Have a nice time off. Japanese are always 100 years ahead. Lol. Makes me wonder what place does Japan has in pixel art history and influence over it, or even Nintendo. This is fascinating. Again, there's a show is Nintendo covers through the years, right? And so I'm excited. Perhaps we will investigate that, Bulls. Thanks for the comments. I didn't show all of the X comments. I thought let's let sleeping dogs lie. I believe is the comment or the expression. Let's let all that conversation be. Eli Scheinman. Art organizations that place long-term bets on digital art on the blockchain will win. Hard to disagree with that. This art on the blockchain. The question is, who has the vision to think on multi-year time horizons? Now, this I'm not so sure I agree with. I would argue it's fairly obvious it's a multi-year horizon play. And I guess what Eli is mentioning is who will think that. I think the real question, the gigantic question, which I think is actually obvious and inevitable, but I think there'd be a lot of disagreement with my view, is when the professionals come in, which I'd argue is still barely happened. Barely, if at all. I'm sure there are, and let's call it barely. There are definitely professionals in here who are working in the scene and paying attention. But it's, generally speaking, as far as the contemporary art world and the museum world and the institutions, we don't see them, to state the obvious, posting, what I call art on the blockchain, on their feeds and saying, hey, mint here and all this sort of thing. The real question, in my opinion, is going to be what I call the Great Revision. I suspect at a certain point, to speak loosely and overgeneralize, the professionals will come in, and they exist. They, and it can sometimes feel like they don't exist anymore. But, they do, I'm sure. They're like, you don't need to go far. I'm sure you start meeting people in person at the Louvre and you go, okay, these people know what they're talking about. And maybe I'm the person that doesn't know what they're talking about. Right? So, but those people largely haven't entered the scene yet. So at a certain point, the real question is going to be, what do they care about? What do the professionals care about? And, and there's also a learning process on digital. It's a new visual language, as I like to say. And so, because I think there's going to be a huge revision. And crypto art, again, art that's embraced by cryptocurrency speculators, as I like to call it, it's not going to go away. But it's kind of like, it's going to remain just like Banksy remains and just like Cause remains. And those are also artists that aren't necessarily beloved by, museums, for example. And I think the jury's out on, say, there's a tension there. And so, you talk to curators or collectors, like in the contemporary art world privately, German, serious, rich German collectors, they don't to give an example, and Banksy doesn't care what I think or what this person thinks, but that person did not like Banksy at all. So there's hardly unanimity on these topics. So I suspect, again, when the institutions do come in, you're going to get a huge revision of what matters, what's significant, is what's going to happen here. And so that to me is the real question, is what will end up being the real, for lack of a better term, canon? What will be the works that matter according to, non-crypto people who maybe are experts in art and art history? That's the big question for me. Justin Trimble, if NFTs are going to sit in museums and institutions, and they are, It's already clear which collections and artists will make the cut. And yeah, maybe for the crypto art room, but not for the, like, I mean, to me, like, if you think, and those are your never sell heirloom assets, the ones that can anchor generational wealth. I'm not saying that they can't. Really, CryptoPunk, who's to say? But I would still argue these are fairly small pools of people, a few thousand, that are kind of interested. Maybe 100,000 people are really interested in CryptoPunks. Are there that many? And how many collectors and how many people are actually bidding in this market? How liquid is this market? And so I completely disagree with this. It's already clear which collections and artists, like, again, this is where, when I use the word provincial, because I believe Justin Trimble believes this. I believe they probably think like, oh, the squiggly, the, thing, the chrome squiggle or whatever it's called, it's going to be the Fidenzas, it's going to be, these 5 things, all X copy. And I just want to say, actually, I do like X copy because maybe sometimes I'm ambiguous here. I think X copy is a very good artist, by the way, but I do see X copy as a kind of like Banksy, kind of like Cause, in the sense that someone who's really just kind of come up on his own through basically social media. And I think that's great and it's awesome. But again, the issue is that the end of the story? Is the question, because I'd argue this kind of statement is saying it's already decided. All you artists don't even bother if you're an artist right now, which I think is funny. So anyways, let's continue. Kind of playing on a similar theme, Deggy D, watching this video so I don't have to, thankfully. Someone sent it to me. It's on the to-do list, and I just haven't got around to it. Deggy D has watched this video of Raopal talking with Batsoup Yum. I did kind of scroll to the middle and just look, and it was all about network effects and money, and yeah, so Deggy D, wow, I just got off the plane while listening to this. I've never heard a 1.5 hour podcast about digital art without a single sentence about the art itself. They mentioned Van Arman, praising him for how early he was in using AI, but nothing about his art, nothing about how groundbreaking it is, because it is uniquely comments on AI as a tool and on the process, or nothing about how groundbreaking it is, because it uniquely comments on AI as a tool and on the process itself. Instead, the conversation is about Web3 culture, network effects, and again, this is seeming like and maybe it's just me, but this seems like an unsexier and unsexier word or term every day. Network effects, investment opportunities, taking loans against your art, or how to discover the art they like but don't seem able to actually talk about. Simply wow. And this was my impression from looking at about a minute. I felt like, so it was good. So I think I'll watch it, but I just kind of feel like I should watch it. But this is the thing. This is the problem. One could argue with the crypto art thesis, shall we call it, this is the problem with Justin Trimble's thesis here, is when the professionals come in, and I use the term loosely and overgeneralize, but when they come in, do you really think they're going to take their marching orders from a bunch of cryptocurrency speculators? Based on what? That is my question. Are they going to come and say, Raopal's right about all of this stuff? They go in and they go, this guy, what credibility does this guy have at all with art? And then they watch the video, and then someone who knows something about art, Deggy D, goes, well, this guy's not even talking about art. And by the way, I follow Deggy D. It's funny, this morning, I was like, oh, am I not following? How is that possible? I thought, and it took like 10 seconds after I reloaded for it to switch over to follow. So, all to say, the struggle is real with X here, but all to say, be careful out there, is what I have to say about this, because you know what? When I look at the prices of the art that he's talking about, I don't see how you don't see an enormous bubble. And now, I'm not saying that it's going to pop and maybe it's legitimate. To his point, we may be super early, and who's to say what the culture of Ethereum, the ETH culture, so to speak, or even just crypto culture will do. Hey, if they can push a Bored Ape to $500,000 at the peak, I believe, right? 150 ETH, then who's to say that what's going to happen here? So I don't claim, again, not financial advice, but when I look at the prices of the art and the assumptions that are being made here, I think Raoul is right on the underlying thesis that digital art is early, it's ignored. But I'm not quite convinced or persuaded that, so we all need to buy, these 6 artists that Raoul Pal is celebrating that have, 2021 classics, we might call them, right? I'd say the real value is kind of in the undiscovered, so to speak, and a lot of what we see in this show, I would argue. So, interesting. Let's continue. Gaspard, how are we doing? 36 minutes. I find it insulting that mainstream media always uses a Bored Ape picture to represent visually the NFT movement. Well, it's kind of like the NFT movement, quote unquote, kind of made its bed and now it has to sleep in it, right? I mean, we all remember, was it Paris Hilton on Jimmy Fallon? Was that it, right? Talking about their Bored Apes. You find it insulting, but I mean, I think it's in the Taschen book. It's not like the guys when they're putting, or whomever put together the Taschen book, it's not like they're like, okay, well, we can't put this in the book. No, it's a part of the culture. It's maybe the most famous. It's the association. And if you're going to spend $500,000 for this thing, and again, does that have any inherent value beyond what the kind of immediate market is willing to pay for and what that kind of crypto culture is willing to kind of push, how far they're willing to push it? Kind of seems like a pump and dump coin is what it looks like to me, which kind of became the next narrative of the last couple of years. It's like a similar psychological structure, just a substitution in content. Instead of it being a Bored Ape, we're going to make it some coin that's called whatever based on the ticker. These are vehicles of speculation is all they were. So there's a lot of work to do, I guess. Xerox, there are maybe 100 and more artists I've known over the years who have stopped minting and posting work. Some are among the best in the world. Am I supposed to insult them if they start minting again or celebrate a more beautiful timeline? I just couldn't agree with this more. There's this thing like, who stayed and all this sort of thing. Again, we're back to the provincialism. I mean, again, I grew up in Saskatchewan. I know what provincialism is. Okay? And you know what provincialism is? To define it for you? It's being closed. It's being closed. The opposite is back in the 90s when New York and London were the places to be. Why were they celebrated? What made them urban? The fact that they were open. New movements happened there first because they were open-minded and willing to think differently and willing to embrace the new. Whereas a provincial culture just goes to what's already existed. And so it's if it hasn't happened somewhere else, then it can't be important. It's like looking at the Raoul Pal show there. It's like if it didn't happen in 2021, it just doesn't matter. Right? To me, when I see that, and I love Raoul Pal's show, and I think he's a great financial, analyst, for lack of a better term. Has a great show, got me into crypto in many ways. But again, to me, when I see that closed focus, I just see provincialism from an artistic point of view. Let's continue. James Bloom, I thought this was hilarious. It's like NFT platforms should go back to honoring artist royalties. They haven't? I thought OpenSea restarted and they didn't? They didn't? A healthy market isn't just made up of collectors, but artists too. So again, like what a short-term move that was by OpenSea. I mentioned it in a very early episode when they started doing this. I was like, the winning move here is to act on values and say, we don't care if we're going to lose money here. We believe in artist royalties. And that was when there was that other platform, Blur, that doesn't even exist anymore, and everybody's farming, and then OpenSea panics and then goes, oh, we have to do the same thing because we're losing all our market share. Imagine if they had held strong and just said, we don't believe in this. That's not who we are. What would have happened? Where would OpenSea be now? Now they're just like this hodgepodge. You don't know, and it's like, what is this? You don't know what they mean anymore. Back to the significance. So I found that hilarious, James Bloom. They're not implemented yet. Mika Ben Amar, Zora is a gambling app disguised as a social media app that is targeted towards creatives with the promise of them finally getting paid for their creative work, while also using their content to extract money. This can't get more evil. Yet, unfortunately, Zora took a turn when they abandoned the beautiful free mint, which was actually a $3 mint, or $2.50, that was working so good for artists, so well for artists. They took a turn at that point. I don't know if it was VC funding or what it was, and they've just never gone back. Like, it's always been about, since that point, it seemed like there was a shift, unfortunately. I used to put some of the early shows on Zora, and I even put some work there, but now it's just like, I don't know what's going on there anymore. Xmortal, I love this comment, and of course I follow X. You don't have as much time as you think you do. Excellent. Indeed. A little bit of truth here. So wonderful comment. So true. Walk online now. This is so cool. Walk, once again, pioneering.
You have only 1 week to purchase.
Sounds like AI commentary, but all to say, you send in a postcard for your... you will automatically enter the lottery. I don't know if this is how it works and if it's printed, but I just think it's so cool. Walk is so cool. And this is just another example of another pioneer here. Deggy D, who of course I follow. This is such a cool project and great example of art that travels through different mediums, from digital glitching to woven textile. I wonder what someone like Wade Guyton would think of this. Super excited about this. Shepperton. So Shepperton... So I don't know if Deggy D for their precious support, not sure if it's being funded, but this is something, how cool is this? Putting in, digitizing, this is something that's kind of crying out to be done. It's kind of like low-hanging fruit. Especially if you work with pixels, is to turn into textiles. And once you do this, it's like alchemical. We're back to meaning. The significance changes in the new medium, right? In a sense, as we are like meaning ninjas, is what we are as artists here. Is really like, it's all about meaning. In a sense, you could say that about your entire life, Let's continue. Rural Idol IRL today. This is cool. So again, we just see the alchemical transformation. Imagine this as on the screen as a digital file, but now as it's printed out, with almost what looks like a bit of a curve, interestingly. Not positive on that. Maybe that's the paper. Not enough memory for Operation Proceed, but the meaning shifts. The meaning transforms, interestingly. Acid Boy, just another insane lenticular by one and only Acid Boy. What do you think? So what an awesome solution this is. So there is Acid Boy proudly, the master of psychedelic abstraction, proudly displaying a new lenticular work, perfect solution. Also, RGB Montreal feels respect to Strano, Eitza, and Nicholas, all of the curators for putting on RGB Montreal to bring together so many artworks and so many talented artists. And you got to love that wall of screens. So pretty cool. They did it again. Look at that. That's a lot of, do you call them CRT televisions? That is quite a few. So pretty rad, and it looks like Feels work there. We have another one from Nicholas Sassoon, who of course I follow, with a work by Yurin Yekon, one of those awesome underwater sea cables. Love that. So topical. This is great, and it looks like they actually put one work across 2 screens, but maybe that's just 2 works on 2 different works. Not sure. Anyways, let's continue. Deadly Yuka. So the Japanese pixel artists love this. You know what my favorite part of this is? We've seen this a few times, but with different variations. This steering wheel. Again, like it feels like a John Baldessari thing where it's just like you put the image and then we're back to meaning. All of the meaning here, the meaning of the image shifts because now we're thinking of it in terms of this kind of title that's put on top, which these days you might have to do considering curators take away the titles, the last 5-10 years. It was like a trend. Maybe they'll bring them back. But yeah, like you can't, I'm waiting for the day I see a Magritte show where they don't have any of the title cards. That'll be the day. Let's continue. Okay, so into the work, 46 minutes in. Let's see how the internet seems to be playing nice. Here's Zozo. Zozo. I love the title of this work, by the way. Occupied Space. Kind of looks like a, the Fernand Léger. It looks like a beautiful work from 1920, but completely modern at the same time. So picked up by It's Nathan for 240 Tezos. Nice work. Bird Calls Are Flowers Talking. So here's another one. Edition of 10. So going back to editions. A little quieter out there last month in August. So cool, beautiful gradients here. And has this sold out? There might be like one left. One left for 40 Tezos. This is Nov 1914. Living with a Cat, I believe, is what that says. So awesome. So part of a newer series of kind of bigger, what I want to call narrative paintings. So that's pretty cool. Here's another one. Not sure, something paysage, I guess a landscape, and here a frog. So again, pretty wild when you look up close and personal. At the Nov 1914 work, some are higher res, some areas more higher res than others. Interesting masking techniques. Beautiful work here. Look at this work by Martin Bruce, Battle Axe. Another phenomenal work from a true master here of the visual domain, Martin Bruce, and kind of looks like playing with video games here. Just meant to happen here. Wonderful addition or synthesis here, doing video games. Martin Bruce, just awesome. Edition of 15 for 40 Tezos. 5 gone, 4 gone. This is an edition of 16 for 40 Tezos, Sparkling Hunter. So more cool work here from Martin Bruce, kind of more monochromatic here, or more green, almost monochromatic, not quite. Kind of has a bit of a forest feel to it. Beautiful work here, and about half gone, a little more than half. Here's another one at auction, and this at 400 Tezos, Rolando the Lizard. So that looks like Rolando the Lizard there, and then almost like a Monet-like bridge in the background and some flowers, and very cool frame. Edition of 1, Here's My Cave, also by Martin Bruce, another gorgeous work here, and selling pretty regularly at a pretty good price, 400 Tezos. It's pretty amazing, actually, considering where we were just in February. I remember getting one where nobody else bid on it for like 70 Tezos or something. So amazing. Martin Bruce, Fallacy. For those that are new, that's how beautiful the scene is. I think one of the positive sides of it is things can happen pretty quickly once the market kind of decides. Another beautiful work here. Kind of has a bit of a Van Gogh feel to it, doesn't it? Fallacy. Love the title, and that is sold out at 16. Edition of 16 for 40 Tezos. So bringing in some real money here. Scamra Running, this is brand new. Picked up by Ikijima for 200 Tezos. I think spending, was that right, 10,000 Tezos on a Lorna Mills work a few weeks ago. So cool work here by Scamra. Let's keep going. Karma Cowboy, Workers Tap. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I don't even know what this is. Is it representational? Is it abstract? I'm not sure. Another work, this is on Rodeo, edition of 210. Also by Scamra. Les Deux Amis by Henri de Toulouse Lautrec, part of the art history series. So nice piece on rodeo. Chris follows Wildman. So here, so AI artwork. We note some cool work here. Interesting palette and just kind of figurative work. AI painting by Chris Follows. That is edition of 10 for 5 Tezos. And so foregone, so still available. Here is another beautiful work, Laundrette, which also looks like AI. So pretty cool AI artwork here if you're looking to add to your AI art collection. Maybe I should add to my AI art collection. So Chris Follows, interesting work. Here's Walk, Cafe Terrace at Night. So brilliant remix here. You can tell what it is, but it's completely different at the same time. Very cool work here by Walk, edition of 1, and canceled auction, didn't go for 30 Tezos. And so here is another work by Walk. So the heart break, I believe, and here up close, so zoomed in. Pretty cool. Here is Yuri J. Of course, I follow him. Seedman, I think is what this is called. So in the garden here, beautiful. The rake, that looks like some Crocs. And so nice piece here. Here is another one, Wood Chopper. I was thinking this kind of reminds me of Fargo, but I don't think it's Fargo. So cool work here. Of course, the mosaic filter as ever. Nice piece by Yuri J. Let's continue some brilliant work by Rat Cloaksy out of Ukraine, Seppuku. This international scene here. And as you see, pretty wild work here. Kind of gory, gruesome, terrifying. Almost a bit of a Bruegel Bosch kind of influence here. All the details there. Look at that. The color, the composition. Great work. Here's another one, Looted Graves. So a very dark series here from Rat Cloak, and interesting juxtaposition of almost what looks like Sailor Moon. And again, a very dark. And there's a mechanical heart. So brutal work here. Let us continue. Here is Moda MT picked up by Zeph. So Zeph, a patron here on Tezos. Look at this cool GIF. Big fan of Moda MT. Out of, I believe, Buenos Aires. I talked to him in Buenos Aires. Very nice guy, and just a really cool, genuine artist is how I'd describe it. It's very honest art, and very cool, kind of works in the frames there, and you see the wire. That's very cool. Edition of 1, quite a large gift there. So that went, I believe, for 80 Tezos. Here's Strange Thing, Gem Art Family. So once again, Strange Thing brilliantly capturing the color and the spirit of the Renaissance, but with new clothing, mixing with fashion brands. Here's Lily Illo, also an AI artwork, The Rescue. Very nice piece here, almost looking like the blueprints, but here turned into helicopter. Very cool there. One big crazy helicopter. Honorary Mythfit, this is Rat Cloak so this is Rat Cloak by the Myth. So of course, that artist we were seeing with the super dark works. So very cool portrait here. Interesting. Not exactly sure what the bottom T-shirt is referencing, but maybe the friendship between the Myth and Rat Cloak. Really cool portrait. This was brilliant too by the Myth of Salawaki. Really nice portrait. Again, the color. The color is brilliant. This almost has the feel of a Renaissance or like 16th century portrait, in terms of the feeling. Beautiful work, beautiful portrait. This was a brilliant one too, of Sabato. Of course, there is, and I love that, putting the name there. Chapacubra, I still can't remember what the name of the animal is. Very cool work. Here's Dan Control, Low Tide. So playing with the fish, I think this one was burnt. I'm not sure. Cool purple background, it was. But this one, I believe, there's another one of a donkey. So this is just a brilliant series, as we've discussed in a recent show, I Feel Empty. So center aligning the fish. This is quite a brilliant series, isn't it? This is an edition of 1 for 300 Tezos. And here's the Kurt Hustle Collective. So Journal of Sleep, episode 8. So we have a few that have come out.
I was drinking coffee for my night shift, and I was trying to big change out of the cash register, but I couldn't remember the sequence to open it.
So, Journal of Sleep, Inimitable, Smokey the Cigarette,
Then something got me excited because he couldn't stop staring at me. Then Smokey started jogging towards me. I got scared.
the artistry, the humor. So you have to love it. Now 220 Tezos on secondary. So I hesitate to stop those, but we have 3. I want to give you a taste.
Classroom back in 97.
Back in 87.
Stay awake and focused. Then I started talking out loud as if I were talking to my classmates despite no one being around. I decided to look under my desk, and I saw an old piece of gum that I'd stuck there for later.
My favorite video artist in any scene.
As a face began to appear.
You know, I just think to myself, like, if this was, as we focus in here, if this was in a major gallery, like, I mean, they just must not be aware of it, or it's just not, doesn't have the right resume or something. I don't know what the issue is, but this is waiting to blow up.
Attending his own private party before realizing he had too much to drink.
Like, this is video art I can get into.
Heavily from his mouth.
So, another, and just finally.
I remember.
I remember.
I was logging into my new computer, and the boot-up sequence had my mind focused on every pixel on the screen.
I love the music in this one. In all of them, frankly. But this one, it's just fun. Fun art. So good, right?
And then the eyes appeared, and then told me everything.
It's hard to stop, but we have to continue. Web 97. All right. Journal of Sleep. Now 200 Tezos on secondary. These things sell out instantly. Here's Waffles with removing the name here. So we just have the Tezos address token. One assumes Waffles. So here we go. More works in this kind of interest. Is it what used to be, I think, Enola Whipple in that series? If I had to venture a guess, here's another one, edition of 5, a surfer, and there is Hesdrubal that is signed there in the bottom corner. So cool works there, and some interesting works with what used to be Pinstake, pre-Snake. Not sure. Let's see. So some experimental music there with a cool work here by what I think used to be Pinstake. And another one. Maybe this is Pinstake. I'm not sure. So, very cool series here. As we see what looks like part of the interface of Fantavision, and then look at the color. Love the pink and the yellow. So all very cool. Rustic Digital Art, putting out some really amazing work after what felt like a 1.5-year hiatus, if I had to guess. Nice piece here, Life is Amazing edition of 1, selling for 115 Tezos. Nice work. Drowning in Debts edition of 10. So all the work, I think, selling out quite quickly, which is pretty cool. And playing with Duck Hunt here. And maybe a video game tree, not sure. Very simple kind of landscape. I thought this one was quite brilliant in that it just captures your eye, doesn't it? And that huge heart kind of looks like the Twin Towers there. Marlboro Lights, maybe a camel. Not sure. Very cool work there. As we continue here, here's Venta, Chill Girl. So Venta putting out a cool digital painting here. As we see what looks like a dragon and a girl and maybe some empty Slurpee cups, 7-Eleven cups. Edmarola, as Princess Zelda was never born, there is no need to destroy other people's vases in search of their rupees. So interesting piece here. And as we see, playing with different kind of interesting samples of samples is actually what that looks like to me. So playing with sampled brushes, interesting piece, edition of 21 for 13 Tezos now on secondary. Haiti Rocket with some great works. Winners don't use drugs. From the FBI. So fun, kind of trippy work by Haiti Rocket. Edition of 1. I thought this work was brilliant. RGB guy. Classic Haiti Rocket. Wonderful piece. Just kind of will get your attention from far away. I could easily start shows with many of these works. LAN party, perhaps. So again, just putting the wave through. It's a brilliant solution, actually. Just taking a icon, internet icon, making it larger, and then putting an algorithm or some sort of wave through it, connect to the internet. So Haiti Rocket, more awesome work. Here's Kristen Roos and Kareem Safa archetypes. Here's A. So beautiful series here. I think these are open editions for 5 Tezos, 18 minteds, not even huge editions. So here's the whole thing. So there are quite a few to choose from. It looks like they did the whole alphabet. Wow. So that's probably why, yes, there's a lot to choose from there. There's also auctions on a couple of one-of-ones. This is at 260 Tezos. So cool collaboration here. Kristen Roos, Kareem Safa, kind of meant to be. So kind of cool structures and then some different text. Looks like text put together. Vermont, cool work by Sabato, done with, again, Deluxe paint. Not sure what's on top here, but a nice kind of a fun piece here. Landscape by Sabato, edition of 11, and that is selling for 69 Tezos each. Gogolitis, who of course I follow. I thought this was great, very topical. So a cool pixel art work. Reminds me of the Cube Factory, actually, and that beautiful green and black work. So here, playing with drones. Cool work by Gogolitis. Here's Murakit with a beautiful work, Amigas, with some turntables here. Gorgeous work from Murakit, edition of 3. Here's LB on Zora. Nice kind of distorted Mario iconography. Here's Cal Flemmer, supply lines. Nice kind of minimal. Glitch ROM, love this. This big chunk just moving around. Gorgeous. Edition of 10, now 20 Tezos on secondary. Sold out. Here's Cap'n, who of course I follow, with a really rad work here. Again, playing with the old, I want to call it UHF signal. And so cool combination of color and then the green and black screen. Almost a commentary on the screen there. Here's Zofio Gore with a gorgeous work. Here, see if we can make it bigger. We can't, or a little bit. And so this is available on secondary, only an edition of 8 for 9 Tezos. Might have to pick that up. Die with the most likes. So I believe did just a huge fundraiser for, and my computer might start to fry here, so I gotta hurry here. Gorgeous piece here. I think this was a fundraiser for a friend. I think he raised a ton of money for his friend. Or in his memory, not sure. Spiegel's Meskinen Borges Tank Center. Beautiful kind of gas station work here with some trees, classic Spiegels. And here's another one, the Primordial Soup. So again, and this person just playing with the mirror, coming out of the water and then shattering. So cool work here from Spiegel's Meskinen. That is on Object. Here's Sad Girl. An artist I keep waiting to come back. Sad Girl. We see some works online. Super interesting artist. You can find their work on Object if you dig. Nicholas Dietrich with some cool works here. I picked this one up. Gorgeous. Again, playing with 2 colors and opacity. Love this. And the mini animation there. Very fun work. Here's a work in progress. Of course, I follow Nicholas Dietrich. Look at how beautiful this original structure is. Love where that's going. And another one, Dark Hedges. Again, playing with the opacity here and 2 colors. And the animation, minimal animation, that is available for 21 Tezos, edition of 20. And here's Element Lee with more colors than usual. 200 pixel canvas, almost looking a little abstract. Printer cave. I thought this was brilliant. Looks like a photocopier, doesn't it? So production subtlety, cave aesthetics interface. Very interesting. So Element Lee continues to be super interesting on Object and on X. Hermeep. On X here, Hermepe. So very cool. Original cat on a skateboard. This looks like a microphone, also by Hermepe, one of these great Japanese pioneering pixel artist. Here's Mech, who of course I follow. Gorgeous MS-DOS work here. Love the colors on this one. I don't know why Mech doesn't release more of those. Lorna Mills, Misrule on Slump Buster. So of course these titles taken from race car horses' names. So Lorna Mills seems to be doing really well right now, and this all sold out at 25 Tezos each. City of God, also by Lorna Mills, edition of 6. Very cool color, and always fun kind of memes. And I love this work, Diatriber, or this series. It doesn't seem to be moving, unfortunately, but look at the subject matter, the body. It's very cool to get Lorna Mills kind of focused on one subject. Here, let's call it a skeleton with like an axe, maybe murdered bodies. It's kind of what it looks like, doesn't it? Not sure, but very interesting. This is on ETH. And here is Mumbleboy. It's okay to not know. Might have to speed up a bit here in the final minutes. I can feel the computer struggling here. So this is on Object. This is a 1 of 1 for 20 Tezos. Here is Gregnik Shumika. Picked up by Nicholas Dietrich for $14.99, 1 of 1. Beautiful work. And here's another one, another cool one by Greg, edition of 5, Bacon and Eggs, on a beautiful tablecloth, again looking like it's done on Excel. Here's Gogolitis again, Spectral Flow. So pretty nice artwork here too, animated abstract. And that is your show, my friends. I hope you enjoy it. I can't wait to find out what we're going to do on Monday. I don't know yet. And that makes me as excited as hell. Welcome back. Anyways, welcome back to the show. Thank you for supporting me. Until next time, take care.